Okay, welcome everyone to Breakfast and Learn. I'm delighted to have Rabbi Debson with us. Some of you know from Beit Limud. And without further ado, it's over to you to. While you enjoy your coffee, to share some words you understand, have about 15 minutes. So I won't keep you longer. So, I wanted to share a most beautiful idea on this parish, and the truth is that Parashas Ba'alosepha it's an extraordinarily diverse and deep, excuse me, and endless parsha. There's so many subjects to talk about. To save something for Shabbos, and you have the episode. We're introduced to the episode of the lighting menorah, and Hashem instructs Moshe, and he says, "Say to your brother." When you kindle the menorah, right, you should light these 7 lights. And famously, we know the Rashi and many of the other commentators point out, why is the instruction of the lighting of the menorah right next to the parsha of last week of Nasai, of inauguration of the tabernacle, of the Mishkan, and specifically the Mizbeach? We know all of the Nesiim, all of the princes of every tribe except for the tribe of Levi, brought a sacrifice, or a series of sacrifice and gifts for the inauguration of the Mizbeach. And Aaron is upset because he does not have the opportunity to participate in this activity. He feels, in a way, left out. He too wanted to represent Levi and to bring a series of sacrifices. And God says to him, don't worry, I have reserved a special activity just for you. Don't feel left out, because and Rashi tells us, your portion is greater than theirs. Don't worry, I reserve the best to last. Your portion is greater than theirs. Why? You are going to light and prepare the candles every day. And therefore, don't feel left out. I have left a special job for you. However, the question is, well, 1 second. There's a big fanfare, right? You can imagine you have 12 consecutive days where every day another prince comes forward in front of the entire nation, right? With a whole plethora of gifts of gold and silver and all the different sacrifices. Everyone watching, representing their entire tribe, and they bring it in front of the entire nation for the inauguration of the Mishkan. And what's God saying? Don't worry, Aaron. You'll come every day into the sanctuary inside the Mishkan, and no one will see you. And what will you do? You'll change the oil, you'll clean out the cups, you'll set the new wicks. Anyone who uses oil light for either Shabbos or for Hanukkah, you'll know it's pretty messy, right? Your fingers get all filthy, they get black and charred, and you have to take the wicks out, you put a new wick in, right? It's not exactly, you have to really scrub your hands afterwards with all the oil and the black. So how is this any type of consolation? Don't worry, you have a job which no one will see. There'll be no fanfare around. And in fact, it's a little bit, it's very hands-on work. How is that a consolation? How is Aaron to feel, okay, you know what, God, you really did save the best to last for me, because I missed out by giving me this opportunity to light the candles in the menorah in the Mishkan, which is absolutely a central and important role. How do we compare one to the other? So this question is asked by the Orach Chaim, and he says, he brings a debate in the Gemara as to how the menorah was actually physically constructed. We know the menorah itself was one piece of gold, one large piece of gold, and he brings an opinion in the Gemara that says, how did Aaron actually clean or set the candles, the wicks and the oil for the lighting of the menorah each and every day? And he says, what would happen? Aaron would come in, And he would take out the old wicks, and he would take like a sponge, clean out the oil and pour new oil. But in the process, it appears to be that he would remove the cups at the top. So we know if you've all seen the pictures of the menorah, I'm sure we can find a nice book over here that has some of the pictures. Over here. Back a nice picture. No, this one doesn't have. So the at the back, see in the new art scroll Chumash, I have it, but they have a picture of the menorah, and we know it was 7 branches, and at the top of the branches there were there were geviyot, there were cups, and under each cup there was water. So according to the Gemara's opinion, it's only in the large art scroll, there was these cups actually came off, they were removable, and in the process of the preparation of the lighting of the menorah, he would actually remove the cups and clean them out, and then reset them. There's another opinion that says perhaps they were bent over because it was gold, and gold is very malleable, right? And there was a small stem which could be bent down, and you would bend it down and, so to speak, clean it out. So the Or HaChaim HaKodesh points out, makes a fascinating observation. And he says, what was going on here? Why is this important? And why is this relevant of Aaron, the fact that he missed out lighting the candle? He says, what's going on? When God tells Aaron that he is to light the menorah every day, taking a match and lighting it, it's the entire process of preparation of the menorah, the cleaning. He has to clean out yesterday's lights, remove the old oil, replace it with new oil. It's an entire process. And he points out from the Gemara that once the cups of the menorah are moved or bent out of place, whichever opinion you follow, the menorah itself has lost its status as a function in the temple. Why? Because it's no longer hold the flame. The whole purpose is a candelabra. It's like, right, if you take a light fitting and you take the light bulb out and if you remove the fixture for the light bulb, it's no longer a light fitting. It might look like a light fitting, it might smell like a light, but it's not a light fitting. It doesn't fulfill its purpose and its functionality. So once Aaron comes, begins the process every day of removing these cups to clean them out, what happens is the menorah has lost its status as a menorah. It's still designated as a menorah, but it's no longer functional. And because it's no longer functional, says the Or HaChaim, that this process is actually a re-inauguration of the menorah. Because you take something which has not been used, it can no longer be used, and you're reinstating it for its purpose. So what was God telling Aaron? Every day you're going to come in and you're going to light the menorah, and that's going to be your portion, which is greater than that. What did they do? They came on the first day that the Mizbeach, the outside altar, was to be used for sacrifices, and they brought the initial sacrifices. That was the inauguration, and now it is functional and usable as an altar for sacrifices. But that was a one-hit wonder. Says God, I am going to give you the opportunity to inaugurate the menorah each and every day. This is not just a process of lighting the menorah. This is, in fact, a process of inauguration, because when you remove the cups, it's no longer fit for purpose. And when you replace them with the new oil and the new wick, you have now inaugurated the vessel within the temple, which was previously non-functional. With this in mind, I want to take you all the way back to the winter holidays and to Hanukkah. Rabbi Isaac Bernstein ties these two together so beautifully. He asked the following question. We know there's a concept in halacha you may have come across. It's known as Tuma, Putra, Betzibur, which means when it comes to communal endeavors, those of you who are familiar with the ideas and concepts of Tuma and Tahara, ritual impurity or purity, today it's not so prevalent in terms of vessels and items. We know we tovel things in a mikveh, kalim, right? So you buy a new thing, you have to take your bowl or pot, whatever it may be, your cooking utensil, and put it in a mikveh. But in the olden days, that was very, very common. Anyone who was on the Disha, right, they would have to come home and have to go to the mikveh before they touch any of their pots or vessels in their house because they would transfer the tumah. And we have an idea of tumah hutra b'tzibur, which means if you have a communal activity, which for whatever reason, the vessels involved in the communal activity have become impure, you may nevertheless continue your communal activity, even though ordinarily it would be forbidden because they're impure, because it's a communal need. Okay, so now let's take this to Hanukkah. What happened with Hanukkah? They did not have any pure oil because the Greeks had desecrated the temple. They had oil, but they had made it all impure. So it was no longer fit for purpose. So they had no pure oil for lighting of the menorah. So the famous question is asked, second, the lighting of the menorah is a communal activity. Therefore, this principle should override. They did not need pure oil. So what's the big deal about God making a miracle? Why did he make a miracle? They didn't need pure oil in the first place. They could have used any jug of oil that they found, used it for the lighting of the menorah, and kept on going. Why did they need this miracle of 8 days? So Rav Yosef Engel brings the opinion of the Da'as Kenim, which the Balei HaTosfot you find on the side of the Gemara. There's a collection of essays from them on the parsha, and they point out that this concept of tumah hutra b'tzibur, that you can override the issue of impurity for a communal need, applies only for an ongoing activity, something which is going every single day is happening. So now one day you find that all the oil is tameh, is impure, you can override it and you can use the impure oil. However, in the case of Hanukkah, what happened? The Greeks had stopped all the services altogether, and therefore it wasn't continuing lighting the menorah. They hadn't been able to light it while they were waging war against them. So now, lighting the menorah was a new endeavor, and for a new endeavor, the principle of tumah hutra b'tzibur, that permissible overriding impurity for communal need, does not apply. So that answers the question why you needed the miracle of finding a jug of oil for 1 day. But for day 2, well, I don't need it because I've already established the practice. I had day 1. Day 1, I used pure oil. But for day 2, I can carry on doing the mitzvah with impure oil. So why did there need to be a miracle that the oil lasted for 8 days? They should have just poured the jug of oil for day 1, used the entirety of the jug, right, which would last 1 day. Why did God make a miracle that oil lasted for 8 days? Different opinions. Some say they poured 1/8 every day, and 8 of oil lasted it for an entire day. And some opinions say no, they poured the entire jug, and that jug lasted. But according to what we just said, it answers the question. Because in the process of lighting the menorah every single day was a new endeavor. Because they had to remove the cups from the menorah and then replace them, and in doing so, you're creating a new entity. It's a new inauguration. Therefore, they needed a miracle that the oil should last for 8 days. We have enough oil for 8 days, because each and every day was an entirely new endeavor. There's another answer to this question, which we don't have time for now, but Rav Moshe Shapiro points out that this is also the only mitzvah which is effectively carried on from the Mishkan to this day, right? When God was telling Aaron, your merit is greater than everyone else's, because in thousands of years' time, even when there is no Mishkan, even though when there's no Beit HaMikdash, Jewish people will still fulfill this mitzvah. Obviously not in its absolute identical sense, but they will still commemorate this mitzvah in their homes. And therefore, what you're doing each and every day in the lighting of the menorah will carry through to the Jewish people, even in the darkest of times. And I think we're at time.
And thank you for joining us.
Sure. Lachmanot, that's a rabbinical mitzvah.
Then next week we have details
around with this. Um, I've got a cup there. Otherwise, I'm going to have a breakfast. I'll take it back. Recordings will be available. Will be available.